Welcome to the Made in Monroe podcast. Today I have the honor of sitting down with Desmond Lighten, and he has a very long list of accomplishments. A few of them are he was a former athlete turned entrepreneur, owner of a successful nutrition and supplement businesses, not just a business, and a global distributor with Herbalife. Welcome, Desmond.
Well,
Thank you for being here today.
I feel welcomed. Thank you.
And I'm going to call you Des.
Des is perfect.
Is that okay?
That's perfect.
We're just going to act like we've known each other for a long time.
Well, we've been chopping it up. They wasn't catching it. But like, y'all missed the gems. Like we had, anyway. But
Right.
yeah, it's awesome to be here at this beautiful palatial business here that you guys are developing hotels all around the world that people don't know about right here in Monroe, Louisiana.
Well, that's what you and I were just talking about, that people really don't have an idea of what some of the people in our community do. And so I think that's probably the case for you and your wife as well, as we've just kind of discussed. And so we want to shed light on that and what you guys do and the amazing things that you've accomplished. And you really could be anywhere in the world doing what you're doing, but you've chosen to be here and to plant roots in Monroe. And so for that, we're grateful.
I'm grateful to be here. And honestly, when I see and I hear stories like you and your family, it just kind of bolsters like, yeah, I could build this at home. Yeah. And another reason, if I moved, I would have to take my mom with me. We're not going anywhere, Mom. So yeah, no, definitely. But more stories. We did get that kind of narrative coming up. Like if you want to be something great, you have to move to somewhere else. And I was fortunate enough to meet some people that were building, international businesses, but based out of their small towns. One of my mentors is from Jackson, Mississippi.
Wow.
And he's actually, Herbalife's a multi-billion-dollar international company. And this year was the #1 distributor in the world.
Wow. Based
right out of Jackson, Mississippi. And I just happened to bring some ribs to him one day and added a little value, and he decided to take me under his wing. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let's kind of go back. Let's start from the beginning.
So
tell me your journey really from athlete to entrepreneur.
Well, that's how long we got?
As long as
how long
you
we
need.
have. My grandma would say half. But no, so that's interesting. I felt like I've lived a couple of different lives so far because my identity coming up was an athlete. And a lot of times, especially in the Black community, we see that a pathway to a better lifestyle is through going professional, becoming a pro athlete. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't understand that. But I got this story that I have with my mom always tells. And I remember her asking me, what do I want to do when I grow up? And I was like, well, I know I don't want to go to work every day and have a boss, You're
like, I want to be the boss.
And I didn't even know to say that, but she was like, well, if you don't go to work every day, you're going to be a bum. And I was like, well, I want to be a bum then. And she's like, you ain't being no bum. I didn't understand at the time. What I was saying is I wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but there was nobody in my network that was doing that. I didn't have any examples of somebody that was being a business. I didn't have that game plan given to me. The game plan that was given to me was you can go to school, get good grades. My mom, we push education in my household. English is taught at home. I had to deal with, a lot of my friends, especially my Black friends, hey, you talk white. And I'm like, man, white people don't have a monopoly on the English language, because you say ease and all. Yeah, that happened. We did that. So, and then I got used to, like, oh, what they really saying is I'm pronouncing my vowels and stuff.
Right.
And
you're articulating your words.
Yeah, which is regular.
Yeah.
And so that's going away. My brother doesn't get that anymore, but that was because my grandmother stressed that. So I got that plan of go to school, get good grades, and you know what? I'm gonna go and play pro football. You mentioned Emmitt Smith was right here in Monroe, working with you guys earlier. He was on my wall. And so undersized D lineman, went on to become All-State in high school, got an opportunity to go to McNeese State. But the only reason I got that scholarship, I got a partial scholarship, because I was undersized, was because I had an academic scholarship. Right. So I had people on my team that were maybe as good as I was, but they didn't have the grades to go with it. So I got that shot, and I played for like a week at McNeese, and the head coach called me in his office and was like, hey, I thought I was in trouble. He's like, I'm gonna put you on full. You ain't been blocked since you got here, So they covered the rest, and I got to keep my academic scholarship. And so that became my identity, is I'm an athlete, I'm a college athlete. And I didn't know at the time, but I met my wife at the time. She's Croatian, and she came to the United States on a tennis scholarship. So it's crazy how you just got to get in these rooms to be around people.
Well, and let those paths cross.
Right. If I didn't have the goal of becoming an elite athlete, I wouldn't be in that same room to meet another elite athlete that was good enough that they flew her from across the ocean to come over here to trade a skill, tennis, in exchange for education. Wow. Right. And we met. And anyway, she went on to go to UCA to get her MBA, and I pursued professional football. I didn't make it to the NFL, though undersized, but I got a shot. to go to the Canadian Football League, which is pro league. You know, you're not going to get rich, but you're making a great income, you know, and they call the CFL cash flow low. And they call the NFL not for long.
Not for long.
Yeah. Point being, you're going to have a career after that.
Yeah.
So I went through
I feel like I'm going to use that again, not for long.
I've
never heard that.
It's a fact. Everybody on the inside, that's the dirty little secret they tell you. Very few people, even if you make it to the NFL, you're not going to make enough money to be able to support yourself and your family at that same lifestyle for the rest of your life. So you have to parlay that into something else.
So, you know, my uncle was an NFL, like he played in the NFL, and I'm going to have to use that on him because I've never heard him say that.
It's a great change. Yeah. You get a and I started to understand that.
Right.
The NFL was my tool to make my initial seed capital to put into business.
Yeah.
So then it was like, all right, I can do that with the CFL. That didn't happen. Cash flow low. I ended up getting injured, that crazy thing like that, and I had to have surgery. And then at that time, my wife. So that was the end of that identity that I talked about. Multiple lives. That was the end of my athletic life, which I felt like I had died.
I can imagine.
You know,
because you put everything into that.
Exactly. Everything was, this is how I'm going to take care of my family.
This is who I am.
Yeah, right? And that was taken away. And at a very, you know, and now it's like, what now? Who am I now? And a lot of people don't talk about this, but a lot of athletes, no matter how long you play, go through that existential crisis. No matter if you're Aaron Rodgers or somebody that is great in high school, because it always comes to an end. It's just a matter of time.
It's a win.
Right?
Yeah.
It's when. It's not if.
Right.
And so that happened for me at, 22, 23. And my wife just so happens to be starting her business, her Herbalife business. That's what brought Herbalife to me. So Herbalife started in California, went around the world to Croatia, and made it back to me through my wife.
That is crazy.
Yeah. And so she was getting her MBA. She's on a student visa. She can't go to school. She can't work off campus, but she's coaching tennis. She's a GA and getting her master's. She needs a little extra money. She's stubborn. She doesn't want to ask her folks for money. So a friend of hers said, there's this company. They have nutritional supplements. You can sell those supplements and make money, and they don't ask for green cards and stuff. So she called me. It's like, hey, I'm
like, check yes.
Exactly. And she's like, I can, sell products and make money. Cool. She calls me. I'm still playing ball at the time. Hey, all the supplements and stuff you're buying from GNC, you're going to buy it from me now. And I'm like, whatever, that sounds scammy, but whatever,
Pyramid scheme.
Exactly, that was the first thing I said. And
I'm out.
Yeah, I'm not, they're gonna take your money. Like, I tried to talk her out of it. I didn't even understand. I was trying to talk myself out of being able to provide for my family, just out of it, but it's a lack of knowledge. I didn't have an understanding.
You weren't educated.
I was not educated, but I got cut. I got forced to get educated. I got cut, I gave her my credit card, she bought a ton of products. I got fired right afterwards, and I came back home with a college degree and with an identity crisis. And I had these products sitting on my mom's house counter. And so I was in Monroe and didn't tell anybody I was back here. I was just kind of like, I didn't go out because my biggest fear was, what are you doing? Yeah. What are you doing? I'm like, nothing, I'm training, that was my big thing. And so I was like, well, I got these products, I'm gonna use them. And I ended up, started drinking the shakes, drinking the tea. It was nasty, it did not look pretty like this, we hadn't figured it out. But it worked. I lost like 15 pounds in like a crazy amount of time. I thought the scale was broke. And I felt great. And I was like, well, I'm gonna put my mom on the products. If you show me 10 people, I'll probably show you at least 9 moms that need to lose a little weight. And so I put my mom, started giving her a shake every day. She did not want to do it. I started to get her to walk around the block with me. And within like 3 months, my mom lost like 30 pounds. And this is when I'm not interested in any business. Yeah. This is a scam, remember?
Yeah.
But people start to ask, what is your mom doing? What is she doing? She's looking great. What are these shakes she's drinking? And then I would say, well, my girl could get it for you. And I would send them to my girl. And after I did that about 20 times, I was like, I need to look into this.
Yeah, you can come to me and get
that. So I went, to an event, and that's what people just don't take the chance to get educated. Whatever it may be in any industry, you just gotta, when people ask me, how did you find it? It's like, because I was looking. I just kept looking. I was looking. I stayed active. And so I was like, well, you know what? I'm gonna go to Vegas to prove that this is a scam, right? I'm gonna go see for myself. So I went to their national convention, and I met people from all around North America, and I saw oh, okay, I know the products work, but I see people of all shapes, sizes, races, creeds, and I see a few things in common. Like, they were happy, they were helping people get results. That's a valuable service they were providing, and they were earning an honest income, a good living, and they were passionate about it. And I thought, wait a minute, I knew football was just the seed for me to become a business owner, and I needed that seed capital. And Herbalife being in direct sales it's a great product that lowered the bar for me to become an entrepreneur. I didn't need factories. I didn't have to develop the product. I didn't have to hire a bunch of employees.
You didn't have a bunch of overhead.
I didn't have a bunch of overhead. I just had a great product that I knew worked. All I had to do was market it and provide it and teach people to get us a value to reach their goals off of it. I said, this is it.
Yeah.
I'm going to use this to become that entrepreneur that I'm going to go home and I'm going to build a market, because the market did not exist here. And, you know, it took a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like, you know.
I mean, Monroe's a little slow sometimes to catch on. We get it. It just takes us a little bit.
Well, actually, to prove the point you mentioned, I didn't come right back home. I went to Arkansas, which is where she, you know, Taya Lighten, my wife, was still finishing up school. And we started to build there. And we did build a good business there. But something just kept pulling me back, that it's like, if I'm going to build this, I wanted a family business. That was another thing I saw when I went to that event, is there was a ton of people there that had built legacy businesses with their family. So many people were second generation distributors. They were there, like their mom had started and then brought their uncle in, and now they were all building legitimate businesses, serving thousands of customers. And I said, I'm gonna build that in Monroe, and I'm gonna build a family business. I'm gonna develop a model to provide a good product and service to people, help them a little bit with their wellness, maybe with their energy, create a community, and I'm gonna teach people to do it. And then we came back here and did that. And, you know, and that's how you have Fit for Life and several of the nutrition clubs that have popped up around here. The biggest difference is, like, you see Starbucks and you see they're all called Starbucks, right? And they're all company owned. It takes $1 million to open a Starbucks. That's a high barrier entry, right? Well, with our nutrition clubs, which is just a brick and mortar for an independent distributor to open, it's a much lower barrier to entry. They're developing much more meaningful I'm not trying to down Starbucks. You're developing a much different relationship with the community.
It's personal.
It's personal, and you're basically creating a bunch of small mom and pop businesses to earn an honest living. Because it's a very powerful value add. What you guys do here, y'all develop a hotel like design and create a feeling when people walk into a hotel. What's a big value add is helping people get a little nutrition.
Right.
There's more information out there than there's ever been about nutrition, but we're not the healthiest. We're the most unhealthy we've ever been,
which is crazy.
What is that about? And so it's like, okay, if we can create a community around just educating people on common knowledge about wellness and lifestyle, and then giving them a good product that they could use to add value to their life in whatever meaningful way that is to them, like that's a very powerful ad. And then the biggest difference, other than that, that's the vast majority of people we serve, is that. Now there's a smaller niche amount of people that are like me. They're looking for an opportunity. They want to become an entrepreneur. Maybe they're tired of being in law enforcement. I got so many friends in Tampa and around the world that have become top 1% distributors, but from becoming law enforcement and that type of thing. Or maybe they want to just create another business. Those type of people, if I can figure out a duplicatable model and a system, I can provide a value add to them by teaching them how to develop a customer base and earn an honest living. And that's a smaller niche market that we've been able to reach as well here. And right here in Monroe, Louisiana, my wife and I have built a top 1% business in a multi-billion-dollar international company, and we didn't have to go anywhere. We stayed right here.
My goodness.
Know? And every day, and it's not like us. We're not the message. It's not because we're some great people. It's really because I had great people around us. The community's great, and we found great people that were looking for a similar opportunity.
Well, so it's interesting, some of the things you've said, and maybe this is just me not being educated on it. So Fit for Life, honestly, initially, I thought it was just a tea place that you went in to get teas. And I think I walked in that day with Landon, and we were filming in there. And I think I said, no, I don't want anything because I don't do caffeine. And I thought it was just teas. And you were like, no, there's something for you. And you were pretty persistent. And I remember being like, I don't drink caffeine. I do not want this. And so you brought me something, and it was fantastic. I think it was a shake that you ended up making me. And I think it goes to show, like, there's something for everybody when you go in, but you have to ask the questions and get to know. Like, I had no idea that you guys were affiliated with Herbalife in Fit for Life. I had no idea. And so tell me, how do you educate people when they come in? Do they know that you guys are affiliated with Herbalife? Like, is there a following that knows that? And maybe I'm just part of the small percentage that does not?
That's a great question. I would say a lot of people, especially in the beginning, if we have walk-ins, they're Googling Herbalife Nutrition Club. Because the only reason any of this works is because of quality of the product. Like I would say, like this iPhone. Like Apple were first to market. They developed a great product, right, in a distribution center. That was Herbalife for, like, they're not just in direct sales. They're the largest meal replacement company in the world. by far.
I did not know that.
Yeah, plant-based meal replacement shakes,
Okay.
all of that, by far. Right here in America, you know.
That's crazy.
Exactly, and now the number one market is in India because they need nutrition. But, so we had that group, but what took us to the masses was the teas, which all the teas are is a blend of Herbalife products that we packaged together and marketed. We've had these products the whole time. It's a green tea, black tea, oolong tea, orange pico, a bunch of ginseng and herbs, and we combined it, put a little stevia-based sweetener in there, and it made it colorful, and that was the hook to get people in. And it is great because most people, the number one complaint when people go to the doctor is energy, right? And it's a natural source of good energy, so people can feel it right away. But that long-term ad is much more. A lot of people don't want caffeine.
Right.
And so most people are short on fiber, they're short on micronutrition, vitamins and minerals. The food is low in nutrition, but it's high in calories, salt, sugar, and fat. So that's what that shake is. It's just a tool to give you the stuff you're supposed to be getting from your Whole Foods on the go.
Okay.
And so it is a little bit of a education opportunity. I don't say challenge, I say opportunity.
Yeah.
When people come in from like the buzz, the tea, and say, well, have you had breakfast today? Do you know what your protein numbers are? If I can help people understand that if most women would just get 100 grams of protein a day from, a good source, then they're going to feel better. Their energy is going to be better. That tea is just like a starting point, a jumping off point, because we can add 15 grams of protein to that tea and it tastes like Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Well, and it looks fun to like carry around. It's like the cool thing to have in your hand now, right?
Exactly. And if you're gonna go spend, this much on some caffeine, let me sneak some nutrition in there.
let me at least be healthy.
Let me sneak a little nutrition in there for you while you do that, so you can get your cake and eat it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you've built businesses really kind of focused on supplements and nutrition and wellness. What inspired you to get into this industry?
Well, it started off with my family. I wanted to provide a better life for my family. I grew up I had an interesting life because my father, we grew up, like a lot of the black people here, we grew up like around Carroll High School, Renwick, that area, South 28th Street. And my dad grew up in Booker T. My mom had me young, 16, sacrificed a lot. My mom drove me to provide a better life for her because I knew what she sacrificed for me. She would have been a doctor if she hadn't had me at 16. All her aunts, aunts, they really cousins, but in the black community, that's an aunt. So they like, one's a dental hygienist, the other one's an orthopedic surgeon. That's her friend group. She would have been a doctor too, but she needed cash flow now, so she became a nurse. And so I wanted to provide better for her, but they moved up. My grandmother moved to a better neighborhood. They moved to Mill Haven. And it was three of us. It was 3 generations in one household for the longest. Me, my grandmother, my mom, and my great-grandmother, all under one roof, And that was that. And I don't say that when I look back, it's like, wow, like that's what people say, like they made it out. And I'm like, nah, I had a great upbringing.
I was about to say, like, what? I mean, how amazing that you got to grow up like with those generations in your house and learn from them.
It was incredible. I love my great-grandmother. That was like, I call them both grandma. So like, I don't look back on it like we were struggling. It never was in my head that I never felt like I was missing out on anything because of what my mom was sacrificing. But now that I look back, she was sacrificing so I could have that feeling. Yeah. So that inspired me to try to better myself and find an opportunity. So I always knew it was business. I didn't know what business. Now, when she lost that weight, my mom inspired me because I saw what it did for her, like how it feels and how she felt to lose a little bit of weight. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's a powerful ad. I got addicted to that feeling of helping somebody get somewhere they might not have gotten, right? Because then she started to walk, she started to have more energy, and then I started to do that again. But guess what? Then it became another value add that I developed an addiction to, which was helping people build businesses. So my powerful value add, I can help people with their wellness, whether it's energy, weight loss, weight gain. I help my brother put on weight, gain muscle. And then when I do that, I build a customer base. Yeah. Then I started to see that I could teach people do that and watch them provide a valuable service in their communities all around this region. We have distributors in Missouri. At one point we had like 12 nutrition clubs in our organization in Missouri. We have one in Panama City. So I've traveled and helped people build businesses in other markets. And I got addicted to seeing them and their lifestyle increase from providing that value. And it stopped becoming about me and what I could do for my family. And it started becoming, what can I help other people? And that's really where we at right now. We have Fit for Life, and we have a profitable business, it's great, and we want to grow that. But now, like I was just in Farmerville yesterday at Faye Nutrition, helping JB who just took over, build his profitable business for his family because he just took over. And it's his first time being a business owner, running a nutrition club there. And I'm answering a million questions from him this morning about the POS system and all of that. And it's great. And so that inspires me, is can I add value to people? Because I noticed I was at a global event in California where the top 1% distributors from all over the world, from Singapore, the UK, came in and got a high-level training. And they did an in memoriam section, and they showed all of the distributors that had passed away the last year. And I just was like, man, for you to make it, because on this board, that means you've developed enough value in your market, in this company, to reach a certain level where they will show your picture here. And it's just based on how many lives you touch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can we touch enough lives to my in memoriam to be up there? You know, I know it's not to be macabre or anything, but that's really what all people remember, is how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
What impact did you have on their life? And that's why I thought it was cool what you're doing to bring a microphone, to provide a platform for people in this community to see that there is more here.
Well, we want to get the stories out. I mean, kind of like you and I discussed earlier, I think that there's so many great businesses and great people here in Monroe that really make our community, but people don't know what they don't know. And so how do we get those stories out of people that were made in Monroe that really could be anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country, doing what they're doing, but for some reason they've chosen to stay here? And so I want to capture the why behind that. Why would you choose Monroe as opposed to a Dallas, a New York, and Atlanta, some of these other really flashy and glamorous places to live? Why would you choose to stay here? And so I guess let's just go there, because we're right here and we're talking, and that's kind of where I want to go with you, is you're hearing your story and your journey and all of the things you've accomplished, and you and your wife, and the fact that she's from Croatia. I mean, you really could be anywhere in the world doing what you are doing, but y'all chose to plant roots here in Monroe. Why? Why did you choose to come back here?
By the way, I feel like I've been talking a lot. Like I'm going on these long monologues. You can cut me off. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not going to cut you off. I'm just going to let you talk.
No, you redirect me anyway. But no.
Well, we've redirected a little bit. This is good.
No. So you mentioned my wife and her being from Croatia, and I want to bring the spotlight to her because it took a lot of effort for her to get over here. She came from Zagreb, Croatia. A lot of people don't even know where that's at on the globe. That's how I got her attention, by the way. We met on campus, and she mentioned she was from Croatia, and I asked her, I was like, oh, were you alive during the Bosnian War? She was like, wait a minute, you know about that? How you know where Croatia is? I was like, well, we have globes and stuff, you know, like,
we have
geez,
globes.
I mean, you know, I can look at it and see, you know, but like, she was so driven to get here. We take it for granted being in America. It's a different mentality. Being an American, being in free enterprise, not to say they're not a socialist country, but they're not America. No. And she said she was willing to go do whatever it would take to get to America. And so just being around her and seeing how grateful she was to be here made me understand. And it's the same thing being at these Herbalife events. We go to global events. There are distributors in South Africa that have built top 1% businesses, and they were like, dude, if I was in America, bro, my business would be 10x. You know what we got to do here to build our business in South Africa? You know, or Croatia. And so
we take it for granted here.
We take it for granted. So like seeing that and me being grateful because of her and visiting Europe, which is awesome. It is great things about Europe as well. Helped me understand that we have everything we need right here. I've seen it, like you said, I have everything I need right here to build and plant roots with my family and provide a valuable service and product to my community. So I can act locally and think globally. Because with e-commerce and all that, you don't have to just be here. You guys are dealing with Emmett Smith and all these people. We act locally. We broadcast that to the global market so they see what value we're doing in the local community. And then you can leverage other markets as well. Yeah, that's and it's home, man. Like once again, like I'm from here and I used to think, and I mentioned this outside, and I was like, man, I started to notice the more I started to build and develop relationships with people from different communities inside of this community, the more I liked it here. We all kind of silo ourselves off, you know, South Side, you know, North Side, and then we get into our political bubbles and demonize the other people when we all want the same stuff.
Yeah, just work together.
We all want to build a better life for our family, and that comes at odds at times, but if we work together and create win-win situations, everybody wins. Yeah, when you build a market for everybody with boats in the water, when the water rises in the river, everybody that has boats in the water rises with it. Yeah. you know, and what's the wise and tides lift all boats.
Right.
And I noticed as I started to win and win a little bit more, the more I saw that, and the more I started to think about the overall market more than just my boat. And it's really tough to focus on what's going on outside if you're struggling, you know.
Right.
So.
Well, and I think that's a good point, that we all want the same thing here in our area. I was just talking with someone else about this as well, that, you know, I think if we can change our perspective and not be so focused on what I want, but what's best for our area, and you can all come together and work for that, you end up making a greater impact than kind of siloing yourself off, because the truth is we do all want the same thing. And so come together, listen, be good listeners, and listen to what other people really want and what they need, and then figure out how you can accomplish what everybody really ultimately wants to accomplish, which is the same goal and the same thing. We want to leave Monroe better than we found it, right?
Absolutely.
And we want it to be a great place that hopefully our kids want to grow up in, and that they want to make a difference because they've seen mom and dad making a difference, or they've seen grandma and grandpa making a difference. And so for me, the mission is a lot greater than just myself. I guess it's maybe a little selfish that I want to leave it better so that the generations behind me will come along and they'll want to do the same thing.
Wow,
and make it better, right?
I felt that, and I could see that in how you move, that you are thinking beyond yourself. And I had a saying come to me while you were saying that, and it was, if you help everybody else get what they want, you will ultimately get what you want.
You do.
And it really, and the more I think about it, in all of my dealings, I feel like my superpower, and I didn't mention my third life, which was after, you know, athlete, entrepreneur, my third life was becoming a parent.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
the best.
Right? I have a 16-month-old daughter named Mila, and she's like a little genius. She's like a little super baby.
Aww.
You know, she's got half European, half African genetics, and she's like got the best of both worlds, like Voltron.
She's going to be an incredible athlete too.
Bro, she's sprinting around. She speaks 2 languages. She knows all her alphabets.
She's
and can
gonna be
count
unstoppable.
in English and Croatian. Anyway, but like when I became a father, I started to think about more of leaving a better future for people around me. You know, but also in our community, we also think like down, like the next generation, but we also think up. Can I leave it better for the generations before me? Because they had to sacrifice for me to have. You know, I don't know how I got to that, but.
Well, I think that I think those are good points, and I think that you've gone back to a lot of saying that one of the things you love about your business is the impact you get to make in other people's lives. And I think when we are serving other people, it's when we're happiest. I think it's, you know, I think it's humbling. And ultimately, I think it's what we were called to do. And we're not meant to be on this earth just for us. I think we are meant to serve people and to make people better. And so, how do we do that? And how do we do that right here in the community that has given so much to us? And so,
wow. Can I say something? Like, I feel like when my energy is low, and I'm my most like cynical, and I'm not happy, right? It's because I'm not serving enough people. Yeah. And I had a mentor when I would say, well, I'm down, or I'm this and that. He would say, go serve somebody, you know? And I had a buddy of mine mention that on the podcast. And I'm like, I've heard that before too from a good mentor. Yeah. If you're feeling down, go out and add some value to somebody. Go to the nutrition club, help somebody reach a goal. Call one of your distributors, help them reach a goal. And then call your mom or your grandmother, talk to them, add some value to them, and it lifts me up. How can we serve?
It shifts your focus. It takes the focus off of you and your problem, and it puts it on somebody else. And so I think I think there's power in that, right?
Yeah, you put your attention on
things that matter.
Yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, it ain't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
The issue you were feeling all man be paying about, because men don't really, I won't say men, people, we search for happiness, but what we really want is purpose. That we all looking to be happy, right? But if you look for purpose, you have when you have purpose, you're generally happier.
Well, you are. You want to wake up and have purpose, and that's. I mean, we were created for purpose. I think that's you know that's why we are here, and so I think it's really neat that you get to do that every day with what you and your wife have built, and with what y'all do. That you get to be an impact in somebody's life every day, whether you know that or not. But that is, to me, the fact that you get to do that every day, doing something that you love and you adore, and you can tell that you love it, you're passionate about it. I mean, what a blessing to be able to do that every day and to wake up, and that is your purpose.
Man, and I appreciate it. Like, sometimes you get caught up in the monotony and you forget. And so just being here to speak about it, I get to think about the relationships I've built in the process of building this business, because we just represent a large group of great people that have built businesses for themselves as well.
Yeah.
And I have lifelong relationships with these people. I get to travel the world with these people.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway. You know, with building a business comes challenges. Not everything is just
it ain't.
roses
Man,
along the way, right?
Nah, I hope y'all ain't getting that from this. I feel like we sitting here today because we had some people that had more staying power, and we were just too stubborn to go away.
Yeah.
Because we had our nutrition club for 5 years with barely breaking even.
Yeah.
We were like floating it, like we're gonna figure this model out.
Yeah.
We're gonna figure this model out. And that was my mentor Trey in Mississippi. He's the #1 distributor in the world now. 10 years ago, he was not. 10 years ago, he was not the #1. He was not even the number 100, number 1,000. He was in Mississippi figuring out a business model, right? How that he was gonna bring value to his community. And he figured that out. So that was us here. We stayed in the game. We stayed around the fire, and we had a core group of people that kept hanging around until we figured it out. And then it took off, right?
It just takes time.
And then you know what? When it took off, we had different problems.
Yeah.
We
There's
had
always a new
we had
set of
we had a different set of problems. We had oversaturation or this and that, or being copycat products.
Yeah.
Imitation is the biggest form of flattery. You built an iPhone, you gonna have some knockoff iPhones, and then people have to try that and say this is an iPhone, and then you have to educate them and get them back. But once you do that, you get addicted to the process. You're like, oh, well, I'm bulletproof. We dealt with this when we had 0 customers and income, so we know we can deal with this challenge. And then you have more people to win for. Yeah. I have to figure this out because it's more people
depending on
exactly.
you. Right?
It's more people.
I've got others.
Yeah.
So going back to it being challenging when it's rewarding, but it's challenging in building a business. Can you share a significant challenge or turning point just in your journey, your entrepreneurial journey, and how you overcame it?
Okay. When I take a deep breath, he's like, man, he's finna go off. He's finna go off on a tangent.
Woo! Here we go.
So we built so when I first started and I went to that event, and I was just I met my upline, a guy named Thomas Lovmela out of Croatia. He built the business. He opened the Croatian market, went to Europe and was smuggling products, Herbalife products across this ain't going international. He was smuggling Herbalife products across, because when Herbalife enters a market, they have to develop a relationship with that country, get their products tested by their, and then they have to pay taxes. So Tommy was smuggling products across the border from Italy into Croatia and developing a demand for that product until he could take it and make Herbalife go and open up in Croatia. So this guy is built, from Eastern Europe. Anyway, so I met him, and when I met him 12 years ago, he just, how somebody just looked like money. So I'm like, I need to know this guy, I'm like, just tell me what to do, give me the plan.
Yeah.
He was like, well, you come into the training tomorrow? I said, yeah. He said, make sure you wear comfortable shoes. I said, okay.
Oh my goodness.
He said, so now understand. I said, what kind of shoes are those? He was like, oh, Versace. and he wasn't trying to show off, but I'm like, oh, okay, Versace. It's like, just, eat big breakfast, pay attention. I was like, tell me, give me the plan. He said, okay, you want to use the products, you want to wear the brand, and you want to talk to people. I said, give me the plan to get like you. I know that's what you tell that's what you tell the suckers. Yeah. I'm here. You can tell me the real plan. It's like he wrote his. I was like, okay. When you get to a certain level, they give you special products, and with these special products, that's how you get the big money. And then he wrote his. I said, everybody has the same products, the same market. Just go out, use the products, wear the brand, talk to people, help them get results, and then teach people to do that. And I came home and went on fire and did that, and we blew up. We built a pretty substantial business in about 2 years. Well, really a year. And by the time my wife graduated from college, she was earning a career level income with Herbalife. But we didn't have a model yet. Because part of what I do is I build customer bases and I teach people to build customer bases. When it was time for me to teach my family, because I wanted a family business, they say, Desmond, I can't do that. I can't go out and wear the shirt and go out and do flyers and do fit camps. Yeah. I don't know how to do that. So that was the major challenge, was duplicating my model, which was unduplicatable at the time. We didn't have a system. It was just the product was so good. We were so good at creating energy. I did $10,000 worth of business in a couple of days, essentially, out of the trunk of my car.
Wow.
And then I taught my aunt how to do that, and she was a hustler too, so she did that too. Then I had a frat brother in New Orleans who was the #1 salesman at AT&T. I helped him lose 50 pounds. And I say, I can teach you how to get these results and then teach you how to make money helping other people get results. He did the same thing, did $10,000 worth of business out of his trunk. Everybody can't do that. That's not super duplicatable.
Right.
That's when we had to really have a come to Jesus moment, and we started to search for a model that was duplicatable. It doesn't matter what works. It matters what you can teach. And that's where the Nutrition Club model came in. Hold on.
Let me drink some of my tea.
I think something flew. Marketing. But no.
Yeah. Shameless plug there.
Shameless plug. So we knew that, so we opened a brick and mortar nutrition club because we thought my stepdad is worked for Rite Aid, he's worked for Blockbuster, he's managed other people's inventory, he's never done it for himself. He could do this. And we floated a brick and mortar nutrition club from our business that we had built outside of that, our online e-commerce and our distributors that we had built around. We floated that for like 4 or 5 years, not making a profit. Wow. Like paying our house rent late and then negotiating and paying who's gonna get their money? Somebody getting their money late. Yeah. Either the house rent or the building rent. So we pay our building note first, so we can keep our brick and mortar. And we figured that out long enough, and we hung in there until we started to develop a system that we could create a marketable plan, which was getting people to check in on social media, like building a brand around health and wellness, and not being associated with, I'm gonna work you out. Yeah. People was like, if you go there, they're gonna work you out. Yeah. We had to get disassociated from that and become just a cool place where you can get something healthy that gives you some energy and get a quick, healthy meal.
Well, you kind of want to be the Starbucks where people want to come hang out, right?
Yeah.
But instead of you're getting coffee, you're coming in and getting something that's healthy and nutritious for you, and you bring your laptop and you work for a little bit.
Fun fact, you can hear from me, but Starbucks tried to license our products to have them inside. Because a good, healthy, protein-based product is hard to make. Anyway.
Absolutely.
You gotta hear that from me. But only place you can get legit Herbalife from is from an Herbalife distributor, so that was a no-go. But, so we had to develop that, and we developed that market. It took a while, and once we hung in there for that, we started to duplicate. The first club we opened up was a distributor of mine. He's a guy named Devontae. I said I wasn't gonna name names because I ain't gonna be able to name everybody, and they gonna be like, Des, how you shout me out? But he was a young guy.
You get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Here.
He was a guy that came into the club. I invited him 1,000,000 times to come to our fit camp. Finally came because his mom came. And his mom came because a truck driver saw a sign that we put up that said, get paid to lose weight, which you're not supposed to do. But we was putting signs up around, like just guerrilla marketing. Yeah. We were gonna do it however we had to figure out. He saw the sign, the truck driver did, and was like, hey, is this a scam? I said, no, come by, I'll show you. Came by, I made him a shake. He was like, this is good. I'll say, if you can drink that, I can show you how to lose some weight. He did. He lost like 40, 50 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
And he came in after he lost about 40 pounds, like, okay, Des, I lost the weight. The sign said, get paid to lose weight. Where the money at?
He's like,
and I said,
you need to keep up your end of the deal.
I said, I'm glad you asked. Has anybody noticed your results? And he said, yeah, some of my church members. I said, bring them by here tomorrow. And one of the people he brought by was Devontae's mom. She came in and got started on a program. She lost a little weight, enough weight for Devontae to notice, because he was a former football player, played at Neville, was done with high school, gained a ton of weight, was feeling sad, saw his mom being happy coming to our camps in our community, and started using the products. And he lost like 100 pounds.
My goodness.
And this was over a span of time.
Yeah.
And so that guy I mentioned, that truck driver, started to build a business as these people bought products. And Devontae was one of the guys. Devontae took it to the next level. He hung around us while he was 18, fresh out of high school, and to the point where he could open up his own nutrition club. And he built a career level business duplicating our model. End up opening another club in West Monroe, had some challenges. Now he's back here in this market opening up another club. You know, I can tell that same story about two sisters that grew up in West Monroe. Now they own multiple clubs. My dad's a distributor. He has a club in Lakeshore. My aunt and my cousin are in Atlanta. They have a club out there. Like,
my goodness.
So yeah, like that. That's, I don't know how we got to that, but that's kind of like how we focused on adding value. That's how that was some challenges we had to overcome. When you solve that problem for yourself, because of the nature of our business and profit sharing, if I can solve a problem for myself, it affects more than just me.
Absolutely.
Because there's only so many people I can talk to with one mouth.
Yeah.
But I could leverage that by teaching other people to do the same thing.
Well, and you're creating leaders as you go,
then
they're able to pour into others and kind of duplicate what you're teaching them as well.
You know what that guy, that multimillionaire guy in Europe told me? Finally, when I got customer base, he was like, "Frontline leaders, you need to develop leaders." He kept saying leaders. If you could develop leaders, this is what you want, you know. And
then they'll take it and run with it from there.
Exactly.
So as we look to the future, what opportunities do you see for your business here in Monroe?
So I'm glad you asked that. So like we mentioned earlier that there's more information about health and wellness out there than there's ever been but we're the most unhealthy we've ever been. And so our company sees that. They've just invested like $30 million in acquiring a couple companies and a couple of technologies, because that's what they do in that sector.
Right.
And if you think Uber, if you think of like car driving services, you think Uber. When you think of food, you think like waiter, Uber Eats. You think hotels, you think Airbnb. So like we're becoming that premier platform for health and wellness. So that when you think peer-to-peer health and wellness, you think Herbalife.
Yeah.
And so like we have a protocol platform that we're developing where people can have a community that's all based on getting that information personalized for each person to teach them how to reach goals that they might have. And then providing them a good service, a good community, and a good product to help them reach that, just to be a tool along that journey. And we're confident and committed to being that healthy option on the go in Monroe, Louisiana.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, as we close here, what's one piece of advice that you would offer to someone in Monroe that's aspiring to build a business here, relocate a business here, here in the Monroe area, and kind of give back to their community?
Man, develop relationships. Like, I know y'all hear that a lot. I'm gonna look right at the camera. And I would always hear that. It was like, find a mentor. And it would honestly, excuse my French, piss me off, man. It's like, where are these people with all these answers at?
Yes.
You know, where are these people at with all the secrets that I've been looking, nobody wants to tell me? That was the biggest difference when I went to these events, is that I could meet people that were 10, 15, 20 years ahead of me in development, and they would tell me what they were doing. They would share what they were doing, and they had no problem with that. That was a major shift for me. But I had to notice, like, I had to shift my focus from trying to get to give. So it's like, find somebody, and how can I add value? Even if I'm like, hey, look, I'll cut your grass. Just let me hang around you for a little while. Let me take you out to lunch. I'll buy you. And time is valuable to these people. So like, for instance, Trey, right? I wasn't thinking like that at the time, but I was going to his trainings he was having for his smaller org at the time in Jackson. And I'm not gonna show up empty-handed. I'm using his platform to train my distributors for free. And I'm not in his org, I'm not in his pay line. He earns nothing from what we do. But he opened it up for us. I brought him a brisket. You know, I showed up with some ribs. You know, and
food is the way to a man's heart, right?
And just to add a little value, I started doing trainings at his thing. I started leading sections. I had some of my distributors leading sections at his training. We developed a relationship. So at the time, I could call him and ask him when I had an Herbalife specific question. Then it went beyond that. It became more than just Herbalife. It became a life specific question, because a lot of this inside of our business is a microcosm to what's actually going on in life. You know, mentality, dealings with relationships and that type of thing. So because of that relationship, I developed connections with other people. And the same thing in Monroe, when I started to add more value to the chamber, getting on a board for Habitat. I did a speech, a buddy of mine, Lamont Wyndham, brought me up to talk about social media at the young professionals. And you know, I did that. And there's a guy sitting in the front row. He's got his arms crossed, a guy named Ethan, he's a bald head guy. And I'm doing everything. I'm telling him about social media, and he's just like this, and I can feel energy.
Like I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking
about. I do.
And he's got Neela, but Neela title. I can feel energy, so I'm trying to break him down. And we served teas there. And afterwards, he came up to me and was like, "So that was a good section. That was good. That was real good. I don't know anything about social media. That was real good." And I'm like, "Damn, I couldn't tell. You know, I would get no feedback." But long story long, he ended up liking the tea.
Tell your face.
Yeah, tell your face to tell me, so I can get the
tell
energy.
Me.
And so he ended up coming by Fit for Life, and we developed a friendship, right? And he invited me to join the board for Habitat for Humanity.
That's awesome.
Which I knew nothing about. And then we focused on, I'm like, what can I add to this board? And it's like, well, I can add a little bit of energy in helping them with the digital marketing, because a lot of people don't know what Habitat does. They think they give houses away. They don't know that they actually building houses and giving interest-free home loans to people that can't qualify for a traditional mortgage. Wow. Right? And so I developed relationships on that board, adding value. And that connection opened up so many more ways for me to add value, right? Now I'm on a board with you with the Chamber of Commerce, because I brought some teas by there. And now we're sitting here having a great conversation, and I'm getting so much from you, like perspective, that I wouldn't get without just focusing on how can I add value? Yeah. You know, that was.
So build the relationship.
Build relationships, add value any way you can.
Yeah.
Every way is different, but don't just take. How can I give?
Be a giver. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a book called The Go-Giver. I would read that book. It's called The Go-Giver. And in that book, when you talk to high producing people, this guy would call them. And whenever he would call, he asked this one guy for his contact book. He said, call this guy. And he'd call them, and the first thing they would do, they would answer, how can I serve you? And he started to notice that high producing individuals, they focus on service. How can I be of value?
Well, and just something as simple as that being what somebody notices. They say it every single time. I mean, it's kind of like when you go to Chick-fil-A and you leave and they're like, it's my pleasure, or whatever they say at the end. And it's like, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, that is going to be what they say to you as you are leaving and parting, and you remember it. It makes a difference. It makes an impact.
And back to Ethan, like, he was that. He wanted it, so he got me in the chamber, but this guy gave me like free counsel with dealing with a property issue when my great grandmother passed, an estate issue. He helped us out, helped my family navigate that. It was a crazy situation. Didn't ask for a dime. We wanted to pay him, but he was just, how can I be of service? I see this happen a lot of times in Black community, especially being underrepresented, having not having enough counsel, and being taken advantage of. And he helped us with that, and that came from me going to add value to a young professional's speech.
Well, it came from developing a relationship, you know? And I do think that that's what happens a lot in organizations like the Chamber. Like, I mean, one of the things I would say is get involved in your community too, and join, whether it's the Chamber or other organizations where you can give back and you can serve and you can build relationships, because you add value to them, but they also add value to you in situations like that when you may have something that you need and you don't know where to turn. So,
it's a law. It's a law. If you put it out, it's coming back.
It's coming back.
It might not come back from that source.
Right.
But it's coming back somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Des, it's been my pleasure to sit down and to
I'm
talk.
at Chick-fil-A.
And to talk with you and to just hear your story, you and your wife's story. It's incredible to me that you two individuals, that y'all's paths crossed, and then really you could be anywhere doing what you're doing, but you've chosen to plant roots here and to invest in our community. And I love your story.
I appreciate it.
I'm glad that we are going to be able to get it out and for other people to hear it. And so we're cheering you on in everything that you do. And I can't wait to see what you accomplish in the years ahead.
I appreciate the opportunity so much. This has been great.
Yeah, thank you.